Even though I still have a little ways to go on cleaning up the finish, I'm going to focus on the neck right now. The frets on this guitar are so low that I'm not going to even attempt to recrown them. In some cases, it looks like the frets are literally almost inside the board. They're so low. And so I'm going to take my soldering iron and these nippers and just start working my way up the neck to take out the frets, and then we'll evaluate what the board looks like after I do that. The frets came off uneventfully, which is always welcomed. You'll notice that when I was going through this, I was using my soldering iron to kind of heat up the frets first before I used these nippers to start to peel them up. And the reason for that is, over time, the wood has obviously gotten used to, having the fret barbs in it, but also, people, often will glue down frets, or you can actually have leftover skin, and that's kind of gross. But either way, when you heat it up, it softens whatever's there, and then you can hopefully take the fret out easier without chipping the fretboard too much. There's only a handful of areas where the fretboard actually dug out. Hopefully these will be covered up when I refret this. And just taking a look, I've got my cheap combination square here, and when you put it against the neck as it sits is actually quite flat, which is great. There's a little strangeness in that this portion of the neck, right around the second fret, seems to dip down a little bit. I'm not sure if that's just because the wood is raised up or whatever. What I think I'm going to do, since these were the original frets, as the frets were crowned over time, the little nibs on the end of the frets also got worn away as well. So they're very faintly here for some frets and not others. I think what I'm going to do is lightly sand this board. I don't want to take away too much of the patina, but at the same time, I do want to level out, these fret chips, and just generally kind of refresh, this surface for another 70 years of playing. I used a bit of 220 grit sandpaper on my 12-inch radius block, and you can really see now how worn in this guitar was. I mean, clearly somebody really loved playing this. As I went over with the block, obviously as I go over it, it's going to knock off the high spots on the fretboard, and you can see, there's significant wear in kind of your middle soloing area. Up here, it was really not played a lot, obviously, since you can't really reach it. One thing that was interesting is, as I talked about before, this area here is actually tremendously low, to the point where the board is actually raised up a little bit over here. And so this smoothed it out enough. I don't want to go through and take it down to raw wood. Interestingly enough, this is so oily, whether it was, an oiled fretboard, finger oil from the rosewood, whatever, but it's completely gummed up, the paper, and it's only been a few dozen strokes. And so what I'm going to do now is go through, clean up the fret slots, and then start refretting the guitar. I saved the old frets so that I can measure them, and these are exactly 1/10 of an inch wide from edge to edge. The fret wire that I have, that I bought in bulk, is 0.95 inches, and so we're going to be slightly less wide than the original frets, but hopefully it really doesn't make too much of a difference. As I mentioned before, there is a little bit of tear out in the fretboard, but it really isn't that bad. And compared to all of the finger wear in sort of this area, I'm sure we could repair any tear out that might stick out after I'm done fretting. With all my preparation done, now it's time to start putting in some new frets. I have some of this medium high fret wire. I bought this in bulk, so essentially I use it on all my guitars. And so I'm gonna need to go through, do the radius, do the whole bit. This is the first time I've ever had to really pay attention to binding, and so I got one of these fret tang nippers, and so I'm not going to subject everybody to watching an hour-long video here, but yeah, can't wait to see what it looks like with some new frets and start breathing new life into this. So with all the frets hammered in, I'm gonna just clean these up a little bit. I'm not gonna do a full fret job since there's so much more finish work that needs to be done. But I'll wick a little super glue in, smooth off the frets so I don't cut myself. But we're that much further along in restoring this guitar. And with a nice new set of frets, this should play amazingly. And I guess next time I'll go back and continue to work on the finish. I almost certainly have to move the electronics out of the way. I got a great YouTube comment how to do this without making a complete mess out of everything, and so we'll try that out next time, and until then, thanks for watching.